Now, as we mentioned earlier, that we're going to talk about different facets of powder coating. So it's now time to talk on the metallic pigments. So the next topic for presentation is technical presentation on metallic pigments for powder coating manufacturing. This is by Metapol Mexico, represented by RDCC Global Chem Private Limited, formerly known as India Dichem. And our next speaker would be Mr. Bharat Arora. He is the founder and managing director of IDCC Global Chem Private Limited. He has more than 51 years of experience of participation of the parent company in this industry. He started his journey in 1993 from Old Delhi Chemical Market, Tilak Bazaar, and as we speak, IDCC Chem represents 24 global companies and serves more than 2,500 customers pan-India. He has truly led his company in such a way to become one of the most prestigious distribution houses of India. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Bharat Arora on the stage. Please hear it for Mr. Bharat Arora.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can you all hear me? Am I audible, please? Okay, good, great. So it's 51 years for the parent company and not from my experience. Just to correct that. Company's experience, certainly. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paintvision, and thank you, Manishji, for having us here. Your grit and determination is always admired. Thank you so much. So, friends, we're going to speak about metallic pigments today as one of my presentation for the day. I hope you can all hear me, right? Am I audible, please? Right? Is that okay? Thanks. So, a little bit about what is metallic pigment. They are metal flakes of high quality obtained by grinding process that configure characteristics of particle distribution, flake time, opacity, and brightness. So different types of metallic pigments are there, which results into, which are done out of distribution, like the flake type, the opacities, and the brightness. So these are the raw metals what used in manufacturing of metallic pigments, as you may be aware of. Electrolytic copper has got a purity about 99.99%. Zinc on plate is about 99.99%, which is quite the same. Aluminum foil has with a purity about 98% minimum, and atomized aluminum with the same purity or a similar purity, I should say, about 99%. So a little bit about metallic pigments properties. So there are four kinds of metallic pigments. One is in powder. The second one is in paste, the third one comes in a pelletized form, and the fourth is dispersion. So when we talk about, since this is the powder coating conclave, when we talk about powder coatings, it is generally the powder which is used, and to some extent pelletized pigments. Paste is generally used for liquid paints and for decorative paints and automotive applications, OEM and so on and so forth, and so do the dispersions. So there are two kinds of, to speak about aluminiums, there are two kinds of aluminiums which are there. One is the leafing and the other one is non-leafing. As you may all know, that leafing is meant for better orientation. So if you wanted to have kind of an effect where you wanted to have a better orientation, an effect which should be very bright, then leafing is the one which is recommended for that. That's about flake geometry. That's an important slide. It is D50. So generally the particle sizes are measured in by D50 mechanism and D97 mechanisms. D50 is generally the one which is well understood around the country, and so do in the global markets. So there are different curves. The lowest one is with the finest particle size, and the medium, and the top curve is for the coarsest particle size. So about Metapol. So Metapol is a company based out in Mexico. Right, 3 years from now, 4 years, 3 years from now, they complete about 50 years of presence in coating industry, in the gold bronze powder industry. The plant is in Mexico, and the operations is in Mexico only. Since 1971, they started to produce aluminum paste, which are for different application. But when we talk about gold bronze powders, it has been almost about 47 years they've been in gold bronze powders. The application, like as I mentioned, that it is used in coatings, in specific powder coatings, decoratives, graphic artings, automotive paints, which are mentioned for top coats, even plastics, textiles, and so on. That's about their commitments on the quality, the on-time delivery. The price is very transparent. The deliveries are assured. Um, in terms of newer business developments, so if in specific, if you wanted to develop a certain grade or a certain shade in metallic, they're quite open to hear about the business proposals, and they've been able to deliver most of the time as and when we have the conversations on that. There are various certificates what they're nominated with me. You know it better than me. ISO 9000, 14001, 45001 certificate. So their presence in about 24 companies worldwide. India happens to be where we are participating with your support. 24 countries participation they have, and when it comes to India, it comes in our scope as a business responsibility to represent them exclusively for Indian market. So metallic pigments, so this is to say about what is metallic pigments for powder coatings. And now this is your expertise subject, I shouldn't be saying more about it. So it's a raw metal, you take raw metal, put it in a mixer load, in the raw metal pre-mixing, extrusion, and then by the couple of other processes, you put that into a packaging. So this is about how the powder coating process is, and all of you, I believe that most of the audience would know about the process. That's a powder paint process. So as you know, that powder paint process is done out of dry blending and the bonding process. So dry blending is when we take an external dry mix where the resin and the aluminum pigments are placed. So what is very important in dry blending, when we're doing dry blending, it is advisable not to homogenize or mix the metallic powders, be it gold browns or aluminiums, vigorously. Don't put too much of energy into it, because once there is too much of energy added to it, the particle size will get break, and eventually we start to get a grayish effect or not bright metallic effect. So in dry blending, that's one of those things which are very important for us to take care of it. The second process is the bonding process, where the temperature is raised to the TG of the polymer. And here in case of polymer, we're talking about the resins, what you're going to use in the formulation. So like polyester and epoxies. So you got to raise the TG to that level where the polymer or the resin gets melt, and it is bonded by the metallics. And then there is no exertion, or there is no over exertion which is given to the pigment, and it gives a very bright lustrous effect. So this is theoretically how the formulations looks like. 60 to 70% resin. So 60% can be, let's say if you're doing an outdoor application, you must be using pure polyesters for that matter, 60-70%. Loads is about the filler ratio, 20-30%. Additives about 2%, which is the flow and the other additives. And the pigments, which is about 2 to 4%, depending upon the kind of opacity you want, the brightness you want, the metallic effects, what is required as an end effect. So that's recommendations for use, which I mentioned earlier. It's homogeneous mixture of metallic pigment and powder paint. Mix at slow speeds, which is very important. If you mix it at high speeds, then particle gets broken up. And then, like as I mentioned, then the bright silver or bright gold will automatically, the brilliance or the brightness will come down. So it's very important to mix at low speeds. Like as I mentioned, 2 to 4%. By weight of maximum, that's something which is recommended as a starting point to add the pigment. So that's a little bit about products. That's a very important slide. It gives an insight about that when you use fine particle size, or when you use a medium particle size or the coarse particle size, what kind of effect you may get. We come across various questions from customers like, if you go to have a fine effect, what particle size or what product we should use it. This slide says it all. So if you're looking for a good hiding power and smoothness, then we should use for finer particle size. When I'm saying for finer particle size, theoretically, anything which is less than 10 microns, so somewhere around 5 to 10 microns is considered to be a finer particle size. If you're talking about that if you wanted to have a brightness, then a medium particle size within the range of, let's say, 12 to 15, 17, anything less than 20 is supposed to give a brightness effect. The whiteness is also out of a medium particle size. So the brightness and whiteness comes from by the medium particle size, whereas if you wanted to have a coarse effect, which means a real silver kind of effect, we come across, companies or customers with different verticals, they come up and say that, we wanted to have a real silver effect. I'm not sure how much in the audience would like to have a real silver or a real chrome kind of effect. But if in case we wanted to have a real silver effect, so as in like the silver is chopped, made a powder out of it, and then you have made a powder coating thereon. And that's where the coarse particle size comes in. And besides having a coarse particle size, it's important to have a silver, a metallic, with round flakes. And if likewise, if you take a cornflake type, which is more grayish, so it's not just about the particle size, it is also about the kind of flake what you're going to use. In our case, we provide silvers, which are going to give a real silver kind of effect. A coarser particle size, and likewise, in the fine, when we start to use, and we get even chrome effects. Okay, so that's the one which I was referring to, chrome effect. I'm not sure how many of you, because this is a very common request we get in the industry. People been looking at asking for a chrome finish. How much? I'm not sure. How many of you would be interested in a chrome finish in powder coatings? Great. 4007 PL is a grade to look for. 7 micron to give a chrome effect, steel kind of effect. Described in different words, but like pewter finish, chrome finish. I should stick to chrome finish. That's the right word. Chrome finish. 4007 PL is supposed to give ourselves a chrome finish. From 7 to 9 microns you go, then you get a slightly whitish effect, and 12 of course takes you on a different platform of effect. This is how, these are 3 major products for powder. So when we say PL, it is powder leafing. That's PL. 4007, the last digit or words describes as PL, which means powder leafing. Okay, so on the right is it's one of those panels what we had it in our records. I'm sure that with your expertise in the subject, you probably will be able to get a better effect than this one. There are a lot of factors behind it. One is, of course, which is the most contributing factor, which is the pigment. And second, of course, is your formulation. How does your resin reach as? What kind of flow additive you add into it, as you all know. So that's the kind of chrome effect we're talking about. We could only capture as best as this one, but yes, I'm quite sure you will be able to get better than this one. On the left is 12 microns. Just a comparison. So as you go from 7 to 12 microns, the visual appearance and the chrome effect also gets changed. Now the other series, which is an encapsulated pigment. So it's silica encapsulated pigment. As you can see in the type, it's encapsulated powders. Comes in different microns, like 55 microns, 44. So as the particle size, when we go higher on the number, we get the coarse effect. And when we get lower on the number, we get fine effect. So in this case, 55 is the highest, which means it's supposed to give a coarse effect, sparkle, coarse effect, whereas 14 microns is the finest in the list. It's supposed to give a white, bright effect. And they're all encapsulated powder. When I say encapsulated powder, they don't oxidize. That's what I mean in encapsulation. So when it is silica encapsulation, they don't oxidize. It also have weather resistance. It is also chemical resistance. So these are the gold bronze powders, which is again encapsulated powder, and it gives very good stability and resistance. When we're talking of resistance, we're talking of acid resistance, chemical resistance, we're talking about gasoline resistance, weatherability, all of that. And so in golds, there are various kinds of gold. I'm sure the ones who are using gold, they must be aware of it. There is pale gold, there is rich pale gold, there are coppers. We also have gone a little beyond that, where we have mandarin color, red color. The best part in these pigments are that when you go for encapsulations, you've been able to create a pigment which is done for now and probably done for years. The color doesn't change. So generally in the metal powders, there is a common probably understanding, I should say. We think that golds oxidize, but when we take encapsulation, they don't oxidize. To some extent, what we're thinking is correct, is because there's a conventional series which gets oxidized, but the encapsulated pigment doesn't get oxidized. Now these are few clips of panels of rich gold, pale gold, and rich gold with different microns. Of course, they don't look the same as it is. It's tinted through with black, but that's how it looks like. So that's also something what we picked up from one of our slides. And that's the best result we could capture upon. They look much more brighter in end result as what it is in the picture. Now, when I was talking about the conventional pigment, on the right is the conventional pigment, and I'm quite sure you must be aware of this. It has got long history in India, ending with 3. Last digit is 3. On the left is ours, on the right is theirs. You see, this is the conventional series. When I'm saying conventional series, I mean these are not encapsulated. But despite being not encapsulated, it gives a very bright effect as compared to the conventional pigment, which has been in the industry for a very long time. So the typical advantages of this is, one, of course, it is cost effective, but that's one of those advantages, which is about 15.55% as compared to competition. It's very bright. It has got an excellent hiding power and a clean tone. And of course, it can be used for powder coating and a lot of other applications too. So this is the silica encapsulated aluminum series, which I mentioned earlier, 55 micron, 44, 36, 10, and 23. A few panels, again, likewise I mentioned about real silver kind of effect. So if you look at the bottom slide, that's the best effect what we would capture upon. I mean, that's how the pictures came through. But it has got a D55, 55 microns, and that's where I was referring to a real silver effect. I mean, kind of sparkle silver effect. Okay, so one of the things which I wanted to mention, this is for all of you, no matter whichever company's aluminium or golds you must be using, you'll be buying from. But, from the safety perspective, it is always advisable to take anti-sparkle shovels to avoid any mishappening and to avoid any static charge. Aluminium has got static charge, which are not coated has got a static charge. The ones which are coated are less prone to risk, or to mishappenings, I should say. Okay, so that's the last point. Keep the drums and buckets closed after they have been used. So once you open it, it's advisable, whatever quantities you needed to batch it through to produce it, please use that and then close the bucket, because once it goes in contact with the atmospheric condition, then the pigment starts to oxidize automatically without any heat, or because of moisture, because of direct or indirect contact with heat. So it's always advisable to keep the buckets closed in case of metallic pigments. That's about, so we mentioned, it was stated that we work with 24 companies worldwide. Few of our partners also work in a set of these products. Just a slide added for reference. Okay, so like as I mentioned in the earlier slide, we work with Metapol for India, for their metallic pigments, all of that, what we covered up in the previous slides. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate your time and your, for hearing me out. If you got any questions, please feel free to ask me. Sorry, say again. The blending speed, it has to be mixed, that's a very good question. It has to mix gently, and there are no clear defined minutes or time which is given in terms of blending, but it has to be done in a homogeneous, it just have to homogenize it and mix it very gently. So anything where we have like sharper blades should be avoided. In case of powder coating, you wouldn't have it probably, but it has to be used where the sharper blades are not going to be there. It has to be like something which is round blenders, so that it doesn't hit the particle size and starts to break it through, and mix it just to homogenize it, through and through homogenization. That's all. Yes, please. Sorry, so if you can please repeat, yeah? If I heard it correctly, hello. But you still repeat, please.
In leafing pigments, it is susceptible to oxidation, resulting blackness or losing of metallic luster. Okay. So in this case, in your product, is there any treatment is there so that the luster is lasting for some time?
Okay. So if I had it correctly, I repeat, you wanted to say that if you use a chrome effect, a leafing, then it tends to oxidize after a certain while. And if there is any other special treatment where we can retain the chrome effect. I hope that was the question. Okay, that's a very good question. Well, generally, unfortunately, there is no coated pigment in leafing chrome effect. However, if you wanted to retain that, it's going to be a two-coat process, which you must be aware of it. Doctor is already laughing on that. So that's rightly what you're thinking about. It's the same answer. You got to give a top coat. Yeah, I do understand. I respect there is a challenge behind it. Yes, yes. Well, that's how it is, doctor. I mean, unfortunately, it's pity that we don't have anything in the technology, but yes, what we can always look as an option is that we start to look at non-leafing 7 to 8 microns, which we also have in the range, and encapsulated pigment. But the question is that when you start comparing the chrome effect of a leafing versus non-leafing, it's not going to be the same. There's going to be a whole lot of difference in the visual effect, I should say. So it's worth trying it through, but it's not going to be close. So if you wanted to give it a try, wanted to give it a shot, you can always make a check on that. Since it is encapsulated, it takes care of the oxidation part where the question was coming in from. Right, I hope I answer your question, please. Thank you so much. All right, anything else, please? Yes, please.
Yes, we have one more question, and so I'll come to you with the mic.
It's good to see that I'm quite on time. I got still about another 5 minutes to go.
Yes.
The bells are not ringing.
Yeah, we have seen a particular problem in the metallic finishes.
Yes, please.
Once the metallic powder is mixed with the base material, we have seen many of the times the chargeability reduces. May I know the reason for it? Or you can call it as a shelf life or something similar to that.
Sorry, sir, if you can please repeat your question. I'm not being able to hear it.
When we add a metallic, your powder into the main raw material along with the finished powder, the chargeability of the powder reduces. Maybe after a week or 10 days time. At the beginning, we have seen a very good chargeability. Maybe after a week or 10 days time, the chargeability reduces.
Okay, very good. That's a very good question.
We know the reason for it.
Sure. Are you talking about leafing, non-leafing? Are you referring to aluminum or golds?
Both.
Or are you referring to encapsulated or conventional? If you're referring to conventional, then you may come across this challenge. So it's worth for trying it through encapsulated pigment, because encapsulated pigments has got a better chargeability, or supposed to have a better chargeability as compared to conventional series. When I say conventional, I'm talking about uncoated pigments. When I say encapsulated, I'm talking coated pigments. So the ones which are coated pigments are supposed to give us, theoretically they're supposed to give us better chargeability. Now the question is that how much and how far? That's something what we have to evaluate on the line, see that, where the differences are. So it is suggested to use a coated pigment in this case, please. So you can actually let us know whether you need rich gold, or rich pale gold with different particle size, and we can take the things forward. Right. So it was there by using so chargeability of pigment itself you're talking about, right? So like I said, yeah. Okay, so that's something what you have to check. I mean, if it is not related to metallic, then I may not know, sorry. But if it is related to metallic, then it is suggested to try encapsulated pigment in this case. All right.
So yes, we have another question answer session at the end of today's program. So I guess this is it for the moment, and indeed it was a power pack. Yes, we definitely need you there, and it is indeed a very, very power packed session from your side. Thank you so much, Mr. Bharat Arora, and ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Mr. Bharat Arora.
Thank you so much.
Can I please have on stage Mr. Ankit Goyal from Deep Polychem to felicitate Mr. Bharat Arora.
And I'm not going back anywhere. I'm coming back post-lunch to see you all, to deliver a very interesting session not to be missed, which is on high-performance pigments. And I'm quite sure, when we talk about weatherability, the chemical resistance, the outdoor exposures and all, there probably would be challenges for a pigment which gets stable under adverse conditions and weatherability and chemical resistance. So please don't miss the session. I'm coming back soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and I'd request you to receive the felicitation
this
bell. Mr. Bharat Arora spoke about tech insights on metallic pigments, properties of metallic pigments, and handling, safe handling of metallic pigments. Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful presentation. Thank you so much.